major change in U.S. policy toward the Middle East. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reversing a 40-year position, now declaring that Israeli settlements on the West Bank do not violate international law. Our foreign correspondent James Longman has the latest. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Robin. This is a major reversal in U.S. policy. This is a major reversal in U.S. policy.
This is a major reversal in U.S. policy.
The Israeli settlements are communities established on land occupied by Israel. And for 40 years, the U.S. has argued they are inconsistent with international law. But now the Trump administration has changed this position and says this is an issue for Israelis and Palestinians to decide between themselves. Mike Pompeo says condemning them hasn't worked and that this move will actually increase the likelihood of peace. But settlements and their continued expansion go to the heart of the conflict and competing claims to land. Like the U.S. decision to move its embassy to Jerusalem earlier this year, this has the potential to inflame one of the world's most intractable conflicts. While Israel has welcomed the decision, the chief Palestinian negotiator says it threatens to replace international law with, quote, the law of the jungle. And some are questioning the timing here, handing embattled Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu a political win.
A historic reversal. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo reversing a major Obama administration policy on Israel, announcing the U.S. would no longer consider Israeli settlements in the West Bank to be illegal under international law. Here to react is Ambassador Danny Danon, Israel's ambassador to the UN. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. I'm wondering why this statement is important, given the fact that America moved the embassy, is seen around the world to be an ally of Israel. And the president has made so many moves to support Israel. Why is it important to make a statement like this, reversing what John Kerry said on his way out?
Good afternoon, Alyssa. Indeed, it's a very important decision, and we are grateful for that. It is another reality check for the Palestinians. Basically, the U.S. administration telling the Palestinians, enough, let's talk business, let's talk about peace. And we are ready for that. We are ready to negotiate directly with the Palestinians. They cannot go back for 70 years and blame Israel for everything. That's what happened with Jerusalem, with the move of the embassy. Now what's happening today, because they are coming to the UN almost every day, blaming Israel for everything, complaining that the building in Judea and Samaria is illegal under international law, which it is not the case. And I think what Secretary Pompeo did today was the right thing, straightening the record straight and telling the Palestinians, come back to the negotiating room, speak with the Israelis.
Shalom. We want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakodash. Double honors to our teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as the Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the clip you just seen, about how America, known as Babylon the Great in the Bible, has appointed more of the land of the Lord into their own possession. So the West Bank, if you don't understand, right now it belongs to the Palestinians, who Amalek, who are the so-called Jews in the land of Israel right now. They're the top tribe of Edom. They have slowly, since the year 1946, taken more and more of the Palestinian land, and they've done it through legal maneuvers, through small wars, and like what you just seen right now, through illegal tactical moves and stuff. So, but one thing that we want to go and bring out is that all this is foretold in the Bible what happened, that the devil that's on earth today, who would be who basically is the so-called Caucasians, who is known as Edom in the Bible, that they would do this. They would declare the land of the Lord, which is the land of Israel, into their own possession. And what we're seeing today is prophecy just playing out. So the brother's going to go ahead and start reading this prophecy about who these Edomites are when they were described. Now this right here, talking about the Babylonians, when they were going to come and take down the nation of Israel, the southern kingdom, but it also, it's cyclical, and it talks about the Chaldeans of today, who would be these witches and warlocks known as the Caucasians, or these who everybody calls the Illuminati and all stuff. Basically these witches and the satanic followers. So go ahead and read it, Doc.
This is Habakkuk 1:6. For lo, I rise up, the Chaldeans, the bitter and hasty nation.
There you go. And those Chaldeans were, when you look into who the Chaldeans were, these were the astrologers and the magicians of the Assyrian nation, who, when Babylon took over Assyria, and again, it was always constantly back and forth. Assyria would conquer Babylon, and Babylon would conquer Assyria. But the Chaldeans were always the elite of the Assyrian nation, and that's because they were witches. They were basically the high astrologers who would practice astrology and all that type of wickedness. So go ahead and continue on.
It says, "For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, the bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth, or the breadth, Salakia, the breadth of the land."
And what that basically means, the breadth of the land, that basically means the richness of the land, right? They're not going to go through the wasteland. They're going to go through the land that has the most resources, right? Where in this case, they're going through the Middle East, the land that has all that oil, all those resources and stuff. So continue on.
It says, to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs.
And there you go. You see, because that's in the main part of Esau's soul, basically, right? He goes around the world conquering places, and he'll set up puppet nations, but ultimately the land belongs to him, right? What happened when Edom went into Syria, right? They took off because, you know, Russia had Trump over the coals, right? He was going to reveal that Jared Kushner had called the kill on that Khalidi journalist. But what did Trump do? He kept the troops there for the oil, but he pulled the rest of the troops out, right? So that's these devils' MO. They're gonna stay in the land to possess it or take its resources. So, did you want to get the next thing on?
Yeah, this is Ezekiel 36:2.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Then said the Lord Yahweh, because the enemy had said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession."
There you go. You see, so right there, the Lord knew he had seen these devils basically declaring Israel into their own lands, right? Because when you look into the land of Palestine and you look into the land of Israel, all of that had belonged to the nation of Israel, the southern and the northern kingdom, right? These were the ancient high places, and this is what they're doing. They're basically saying, aha, this is our land. These are our possessions stuff, right? This is why when you look at these devils over there, there's a famous video, and I'll spice it in, showing these little
you and your fucking
Amalekites,
Jesus, kiss
throwing
my
rocks
ass,
at journalists,
okay?
saying, "Get out of our land! This is our land! God gave it to us!"
Whoa. Don't camera, no camera. I break your camera. Don't take picture. Okay? Screw you, you Nazi. You fuck. Don't take camera. I break your camera. Don't take picture. Shabbat shalom. No picture. We don't want picture.
Leave. You need to. You can't come in here. This is not your house.
This is not your house.
We killed Jesus. We're proud of it. Where are you?
Did you record that?
Get the fuck out of here. This is my land, you
This is not your land. It belongs to these families.
land, you son of a bitch. I'm gonna kill you and the Palestinians. You Nazi, you son of a shit.
Hand for that.
This is my land. God gave it to me. Fuck you. Nazi. Call everyone you want. This is my house. This is my land. God gave it to me. And fuck you.
You know, because these devils are proud in their heart, right? Just like today, how America has declared these illegal settlements in Palestine legal, saying that, you know what, that these Israelis can now possess this land legally, right? Now consider that. These Israelis, they go into this land of Palestine, they go in there with bulldozers, they bulldoze these people's houses, they make them, run from their houses, and what do? They demolish the land, they set up barriers so that way they can't come back in, and if they do come back in, they end up killing them, shooting them. There's even been protesters, even other Edomites that go there to try to protest this, that they end up getting crushed under bulldozers, because it doesn't matter, who you are. Nobody's going to get in the way of Amalek possessing the land of Israel, which is the land of the Lord, the land of us Israelites. So, and then jump down to verse 5, Bach.
This is verse 5. Therefore, thus said the Lord Yahweh, surely in the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen, and against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds to cast it out for a prey.
And there you go. And that word there, Idumea, is simply the Greek way of saying the nation of Edom. You see, because even back in the time of the Greeks, Esau was trying to run from his heritage. This is why he put a new name on his nation, and they would be known as the Idumeans. So just like it says there, that these Idumeans, they declare with the joy of their heart, the land. This is what they did, man. Notice Pompeo, man. He came out and said that straight, blatant lie that the condemning these settlements never worked. Maybe this will work. Bullshit. This is only going to give Israel more credence to go in and take more land, and pretty soon, this is going to start rousing up the Arab nations. If you go into the it wasn't Jordania, it was all these other Arab nations talking about they needed to stand up for Palestine, right? I think it was it's the nation Yemeni, Yemeni and the Iranians talking about they need to go and help the Arabs in Palestine, because it's a Holocaust over there for the Arabs. And it's true, they're basically being demolished there, and ultimately they're holding on to a land that Edom wants. And what happens when you have something that Edom wants? You get destroyed and stuff. So let's go and get into the next script, Doc, which talks about how these devils, or what these devils do when they want something.
This is John 10:10. The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and they might have it more abundantly.
Yep. You see, so the Lord here is pointing out the wicked, and basically in this case he's pointing out how this world is ultimately wickedness, and that everything that is here is set to have things stolen from you, to have things taken from you, and ultimately be given to these wicked people, these Edomites who the world has been given to. When you read Job 9:24, it tells you the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. See? Right? So, but the Lord, when He came here for our salvation, the salvation of the nation of Israel, the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, because the elder brother from Mississippi made a beautiful video today talking about salvation. What is salvation? Right? What does the term of salvation mean? It ultimately means the salvation from captivity, right? And that's what we are in today. We, along with the rest of the world, is in a form of captivity under these devils, the so-called Caucasians, the nation of Edom, who has the whole world in subjection and ownership. This is why they're able to take land. This is why they're able to put tariffs on different people, the Chinese and this and that. But and ultimately, when you get into the nation of Israel and the people who dwell here in Babylon, notice how you're getting robbed. You get, not only do you get taxed on your paycheck, they take that money. You don't give it, they take it from you. So you get taxed on your paycheck, you get taxed on the things you buy. When even if you save money, at the end of the year, if they didn't take enough money, it's your job to figure out how much money you owe them. And if you don't get that number right, they're gonna come and fuck you up, right? Because the thing is you're getting taxed when you're coming and you're going, right? That's the way of the devil. That's how he comes to steal and to kill, right? Ultimately, he takes your resources, your wages. But again, that's the curses that fell upon us when you read Deuteronomy 28 about I think verse 15 and on down. It talks about the curses, how we would have no rest here, and basically we would sow land, and we would sow a field, and we wouldn't partake of the fruits. We would build a house, we wouldn't live in it.
Yeah, we would work much and bring in little.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
I mean here, it's constantly you got to constantly worry about paying this and paying that, man. You know, and Esau's a tax man. Yep. So that's what he does, man. He taxes everything. Yep. You know, he causes all these things. You gotta have this. You gotta have this to be functional. You gotta have that. You know what I'm saying? If it isn't, you know, you gotta have a license, or some type of insurance to everything, man.
Yep.
To everything.
Exactly.
You know, and he's taking your wages before you even get a paycheck.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And that's the thing, and that's the way these devils get down. They make it seem like it's a fair thing, but the game's all rigged. The tables are turned, and they're and like George Carlin, the famous comedian, says, he's all the same club that they're in. That's the club they used to beat you over the head with, man. It's a club that you're not part of.
Yep.
And that club is ultimately the club of Edom, right? So it doesn't matter if you got 1 or 2 or 3 or a few examples of Negroes, Latinos, Native Indians who have made it, you know, that are wealthy and everything, but it's the nation that's poor, that's destitute, right? It's those individuals that get raised up that Edom uses as an example and saying, oh, you know what? You can make it too if you work hard. Just look at Michael Jordan. Look at Oprah Winfrey. Look at Kanye West. They can make it. They are hard workers. No, those people fucking sold out. And they're part of the system, right? They're part of the system that is set up to rob and to kill you, man. So, you got the other one? Go for it.
Yeah, this is Habakkuk 2:5. Ye also, because he transgressed by wine.
Right? You want to break that down, man? What is wine?
Wine is basically his philosophy system, man. He goes around pushing this all around the world. Yep. You know, baby, it's okay to be a homosexual, man. It's okay to commit adultery. It's okay to break all the laws and statutes and commandments of the Most High. It's basically okay to sin, man, as long as you don't get caught, man. You know what I'm saying?
And even more to the point, what we're talking about, one of the philosophies that they spread is democracy.
Oh yeah,
right? Democracy. No, you're good. No, you're good, because that's actually exactly right. Right. Besides all the vile lifestyles that they push, what this video just demonstrated is that they're pushing their democracy, their form of government. But we all know that in a system of laws that they run, democracy that they initiate, that they really give out, is not a constitutional democracy. It is a corporate democracy, which basically means the corporations come in, even though you get to, you know, supposedly vote for your leaders. Ultimately, they're the ones who the corporations are the ones who put the leaders up on the pedestal so you could vote. So you may think you have a choice, but it's a non-choice. The choices you got is between bad and worse, right? That's why. What does everybody say during the time of elections? Oh, well, if I don't vote for this person, then my vote's gonna not count. So I might as well vote for that person, right? Because they give you two options, and it's a non-choice. So ultimately, what everybody should do is not participate, man. But that's what's happening right now. That's why you're starting to see these uproars around the world. People aren't fucking starting to believe in Esau's philosophy, man. His wine is starting to fail, man. The vintage is starting to fail on Esau's wine. So you got a little bit more on that, Rock?
Yeah, it says, ye also, because he transgressed by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied.
And there you go. See, and just as death can never be satisfied, man, there's always going to be more room for death, man. Esau, doesn't matter if he's gotten all the land of America. He wants more. He wants to go into the Middle East, right, which is known to be the death, the graveyard of nations and stuff, right? There is an old saying that if that the Middle East or the land of Asia is a gravestone for empires, right? Because nobody could conquer that place, man, because the deserts and the low resources. But what does Esau do? He fucking goes for it because he wants it, man. Because he's not satisfied staying at home. This is why when you look at his bases, they're all over the world. People are protesting. They want him out of their country, right? There's people who are trying to, look at Germany. Germany wants Esau out of the country and wants him to take his stinking nuclear missiles, because Germany right now is starting to get not in trouble, but they're starting to get pressure from Iran, and Europe, or the EU, is starting to turn against America. This is that prophecy that says that the whore that the beast shall hate the whore and will burn her with fire. That's the ultimate judgment that will fall on America, that's going to fall under nuclear bombardment by its allies, right? But that's another story. But was that it on that, Art?
I keep going.
Or actually, can you read that part again about how he's a proud man, or right above that?
It says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, he enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied.
Now that part right there, where he says he's a proud man, the perfect example of that is, notice how he's here condemning the Hong Kong riots, the police force, saying that it's unlawful, that they're detaining these people, and that they're treating these protesters with violence and stuff like that. But look at what's going on here in America, man. Yeah. These cops are shooting down these Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, man. Look what they did over there at Standing Rock to the Gadites who were trying to protest the oil pipeline, man. They straight brought out dogs and assault rifles and tanks or armored vehicles to fight against the Gadites, who were just basically there with at the most with a fucking horse, So that shows you the hypocrisy and the proudness of these devils trying to tell other people not to do things that they're doing themselves, right? I think even China came out and condemned them, saying like that they have no place to talk about how China does their business with their own citizens, right? So, and then we're going to go in and get to another scripture right real quick. You got it on?
Yeah, you want me to keep going?
Yeah, let's keep going a little bit. So I think there's a little bit more meat on that.
It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations and heapeth unto him all people.
Yep. And that right, you want to break that down, Ark?
Go ahead, Ark.
And that right there kind of just goes back into the ancient practice that the Babylonians began, right? Where instead of when they would go in to conquer people and kill everybody off, the Babylonians started a practice of actually bringing people from these different lands. They would bring the most revered people, the princes, the scientists, the people of knowledge from those lands into Babylon, and they would I guess you'd say suck the resources out of them, and they would let those people partake into the society. That's what happened here. Look, in the time of the Iraqi war, what happened? America, it was called the brain drain of the Iraqis and stuff like that, where they brought in all the scientists from Iraq. This also happened during Germany. When you look into the CIA project called Operation Paperclip, basically where the Russians and the Americans brought all of these Nazi scientists over here. That's how America got the NASA space system, man. They basically brought in all these top scientists and also psychologists and all these people from Germany, right? And they continually do this, man. This is why every nation that gets conquered by America, you'll see those people start migrating into America, into Babylon, because this devil heaps onto him people of all nations, right? Hence doing what the Babylonians did back in the days when it talks about in Genesis, I think it's Genesis 13 or 11, talking about the Tower of Babel, how King Nimrod at the time, he gathered all the nations of the world and they started to build that tower. That's exactly what this devil's doing. He's trying to bring everybody together to meld them to be that one world order.
Yeah, that's why this place is the place of confusion, you know what I'm saying? But that reminds me of the time of Daniel, when Nebuchadnezzar, when he grabbed onto him, you know what I'm saying? And he had witches, right?
Yep.
He had all the witches, and when all those witches, even from the ones from the past empire, when they couldn't discern something, then they brought in Daniel, willing to adapt any type of, anybody who had any type of wisdom or understanding, of anything, or was set up on a high level, who was set up.
It's exactly the point. And see, that's what Babylon the Great, America, does today. It's looked at the practices of past nations, which again, these past nations also looked on examples of what past empires did, and they did the exact same thing. They started, instead of killing all these people, they started bringing them all in, so that way they could withdraw from them information. And that's ultimately what these devils do, man. And that's ultimately what they're doing today in Syria, what they did in Iraq and all these places, man. They ultimately want to conquer everything and bring all the richness of the world into the nation of Israel, and also mainly the nation of Babylon the Great. So, got the next script on?
Yeah, it says, Psalms 94:20, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law.
You see that? So these devils, one thing that they tend to do is that they work their magic, their paper magic, man, which is setting up these laws, these statutes, and they make everybody believe this is the righteous thing to do, that everything is done, copacetic, all the laws have been followed, and it follows the UN. Notice on the report that I had played in the beginning of this video, how Mike Pompeo was saying that the world was with them and so like that, and as far as calling these settlements legal, when the UN has actually come out and condemning these illegal settlements in Palestine, right? But they've done it in a way where they've now declared these settlements legal by Esau's own system, man. See, because not only does he write the rules, he changes them at his own will when it fits his needs, man. So And also another thing too, when you go through history, when other nations, like for example, Iran, when Iran is following the laws or the contents, or I'm sorry, the contracts that they had signed with Obama about the nuclear proliferation acts, they were following everything, right? But what do these devils do? Because they wanted they want that war with Iran, they kept changing it, saying, oh, Iran isn't following it. They keep breaking the laws and everything because they're changing these laws as they're going, man.
Precept, Doc.
Go for it, Doc.
This is Daniel 7:25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and dividing of the time.
And that's perfect right there, man, because that right there is another prophecy that showed that these devils, they would change not only laws, but they literally would change time. And when you go into history, who has given us all these different calendars? The Julian calendar, which came from the Romans, the Gregorian calendar, which came from the Vatican, Gregory, some pope named Gregory, I forgot his name. All these new times and changes have all come from these devils, because not only have they changed the laws, they've sought to change the times, but it doesn't matter, because the moon is always going to stay in its place, the stars are going to stay in their place, so we can still tell what time of year it is. We can't tell what year it is because those records have been lost. And also with the difference between the Hebrew lunar calendar and the solar calendar, which we use nowadays, there's a difference, I believe, of what is it? There's a few days difference. So since they initiated the calendar change, there's been a difference of 60 years. So that's why a lot of people say we don't even know what year it is, and that's because these devils have changed. They have sought to change times, but ultimately the truth is out there. The Lord knows the time is still the same as it's always biblically been, but we are lost in this time because of these devils. Because again, they change the laws as they go through.
Yeah, so, they form it by mischief. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
They can't go to sleep without doing some type of mischief. Man. That's just in their nature, man. Mm-hmm. This is Joel 3:2. I will gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat, and I will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land.
You see, so ultimately this right here will happen today about America saying Israel can now legally move into those West Banks. This right here is going to cause a huge fire in the Arab nations. There's already been commotion with the recent taking of the Golan Heights, right? That happened a few months ago. With what's happened today, you think these Arab nations, Ishmael is gonna sit back? No, he was already inflamed about that. Iran, Yemen, all these other nations, these Arab nations were pissed off. So what this is gonna do, it's gonna fulfill this prophecy we just read, where the Lord is gonna gather all the nations into the land to the valley of Jehoshaphat, which is right there, where the West Bank is at, right? Because you already got Russia there, you got Syria, you got Turkey, you got you got the Western allies, you got the only people you don't really got there are the Chinese, but they're actually already starting to mobilize and to back up China, right? So again, the Lord is stirring up these nations to bring them all there, and they're doing it by little political things you see like today, which don't really get that much coverage. I'm gonna be surprised if another brother does a lesson on this, because the thing is these type of news reports go under the radar, because Esau does his best to make this news as milquetoast as possible, man. He makes it as unappealing and makes it seem like it's of no effect. But this shit is big news, man. They literally have said that all the settlements and West Bank are now legal, which means what Israel's doing, they can keep doing it. And that right there is gonna basically enrage these Arabs, and they're gonna go crazy, and they're gonna start coming into that land, and they're gonna start fighting back and stuff, man. And that's then going to cause the allies of these Arabs, Russia, China, Turkey, to basically back them up, and then you're going to start seeing we're literally on the brink of World War III, people. Today was a big step forward. So can you get the other scripture, Second Ezra? Because ultimately, once these nations, because this ultimately is going to be the end of Edom, man, because he right now is biting more than he could chew. But he doesn't realize that, man. He thinks he could take on all these nations. And what's going to happen is when he's in that land with all his allies and he thinks he's going to win, what's going to happen? The Lord's going to crack those skies, and he's going to come out there and he's going to basically destroy. We're actually going to read what the Lord's going to do. Read that out.
This is 2nd Ezra 13:5. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea.
There you go. And that man that's coming out of the sea is Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. That sea that he's coming out of isn't the sea on the earth, it's the sea of space, right? Because back then they referred to space as the sea. Oh, and that multitude is all the nations gathered in the valley of Jehoshaphat. Go ahead, Art.
It says, but I beheld, and lo, he had, but I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it.
There you go. And that great mountain is actually talking about a UFO. You see, because Ezra, when he's seen this this image, he just seen this huge bulk in the sky, and the only thing he could comprehend that being was a mountain. But continue reading how he describes it.
It says, but I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not.
You see? So Ezra was looking around to see where this huge mountain was pulled out from, but everything looked the same. There was no huge craters, nothing. So he couldn't even see where the Lord had pulled this huge mountain. And that's because it wasn't a mountain. It was a chariot or a cloud of heaven, which is the UFO that the Lord's coming back on. Go ahead, Art.
Yeah, a good movie to watch is ID4, you know,
Perfect.
Independence Day.
Yep.
You know, when Will Smith comes out and he looks up at the sky and he's like, oh snap.
Yep.
It's just so big, you
And
know.
it's so far away that it even fades into the horizon. That's how big it is. That's how big this chariot's going to be that the Lord's coming on.
It says, and after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid, and yet durst fight. And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lift up his hand, nor held sword, nor in any instrument of war. But only I saw he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath. Out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests.
And that right there is just poetic talk for basically these laser beams that came out of this UFO. You see, so you're not going to see Yahweh Shai there opening his mouth and light's going to come out and all this stuff. No, ultimately the Lord is going to fly up into the UFO. He's going to get in it, and ultimately this UFO is going to start blasting away at this army and basically destroy it. Right? It's going to be a concentrated light, a tempest, which also means like destruction and stuff like that. It's going to be coming out of this UFO, destroying these people. And continue on.
It says, but only I saw that he sent out of his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, and they were all mixed together, the blast of fire, the flaming breath, and the great tempest, and fell with violence upon the multitude, which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon a sudden of an immeasurable multitude, nothing was to be perceived, but only dust and smell of smoke. Yeah, wait, I saw this, I was afraid.
You see that? So Ezra, he's seeing that nothing was left of these armies that were there. Basically nothing but smoke and just the smelling of it and stuff like that. The destruction was so vast that even he was scared. So, but we just wanted to touch upon this to show Esau, man, that this is your future, man. You're done. You've bitten off more than you could chew. And with that, we want to go and give all praises to
Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash.
Double honors to our teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.